we go, full throttle. Went up to about 6,500 RPM, so not to the full 7,000 red line, but I mean, it got up pretty quick, you know.
Welcome to Drive Culture. I'm Jonathan Rivers, and today we have the 2024 Acura RDX A-Spec Advance. And I'm going to tell you all about the features, technology, and design that make this an awesome premium midsize SUV. So we'll go over the exterior, the interior, the powertrain, and of course, take it for a drive. So if this is content you're after or you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. And with that, let's get after it. All right, guys, here we are with the 2024 Acura RDX A-Spec Advance. Now, before we jump into the exterior design, let's quickly talk about the pricing for this vehicle. So the RDX actually only comes in super handling all-wheel drive now. So there's no more front-wheel drive trims. And we'll talk about the powertrain a little bit later. But as far as pricing, that means now the entry-level RDX is actually $44,350. And this trim here, the A-Spec Advance, which is fully loaded, comes in at $54,150. So essentially it's a little over a $10,000 spread in pricing, but you obviously get a lot of premium touch points, features, and the entire A-Spec package with this trim. So let's go ahead and jump into the exterior design. So up front, if you remember back as a 2022 model year, Acura updated the RDX. And in doing so, they updated the lower front fascia, made those intakes a little bit bigger, also changed a little bit of the grille design as well. So those are some of the key change points that happen at that mid-cycle refresh. But let's talk about the actual exterior design elements. So, the RDX actually has a 7-element jewel eye LED headlight and that chicane daytime running light. And of course, if you look really closely, you can see that it says Acura in the headlight. So let's take a step back. You can see the sharp crease lines in the hood. You can see the black surround for the grille. That's part of the A-Spec package. And you'll also see some premium features up front. So you got the 4 parking sensors, as well as the camera hidden below the Acura caliper for the 360 surround view system. Down below, you do have functional intake openings and an opening for the intercooler, which powers the engine, which we'll cover later. You also have LED fog lights down below, part of that nice advanced package as well. But let's go ahead and make our way to the side of the vehicle. You have a full side profile here. So you can see RDX again, the sheet metal, the overall styling hasn't changed all that much. But back at 2022, they did get a new wheel design, and that carries over here to 2024. So on the A-Spec, you do get 20-inch wheels and tires. So they're actually a 255 45R20 series tire. Pretty good performance and pretty good grip. We'll talk about that during the drive. You do get this multi-spoke wheel painted in Acura signature shark gray finish. Of course, you get the A-Spec badging on the side. You do get power folding side mirrors, which is nice, LED turn signals, and you also have a camera peeking down below for that surround view system. Now, again, on the side of the vehicle, you get lots of black accents because this is the A-Spec package. So the window surround is black, that side blade down on the bottom is black, and as we make our way around to the rear of the vehicle, you'll see again, there weren't a lot of exterior changes here, even at that mid-cycle refresh. So you do have the Acura badge in black, you get the A-Spec badging, you also get RDX and the super handling all-wheel drive badge, because like I said, that is now standard. But you also get a rear view camera right there below the Acura caliper, and you get 4 parking sensors in the rear, as well as those huge 4-inch chrome exhaust tips. So those are pretty big. Again, kind of shows the RDX sporty intentions, as well as it being the A-Spec package. And then lastly, down below, if you guys can really see, you'll see there is a gloss black rear diffuser. So that's a nice little treatment, part of the A-Spec package as well. So with that, I think we've covered most of the details on the exterior. I'll go ahead and mention that we've also put the RDX A-Spec, so the one without the advanced package, on the channel as well. So if you haven't watched that video, be sure to check that out. That goes into a lot of detail on the exterior design as well. So next, let's go ahead and hop inside the interior. All right, guys, here we are inside the Acura RDX A-Spec Advance. And again, if you've seen our other review of just the Acura RDX A-Spec, you'll have a pretty good idea of what the interior design of this vehicle is like. But let's go over some of the high points and the key feature differences you get with that advanced package. So as soon as you sit in, the Acura steering wheel is really premium. It's leather, you got perforations here on the sides, and it's flat bottom, giving you that really sporty design. Also has the A-Spec badging down here as well. So you've got all of your volume controls, things like that on the left, as well as the heated steering wheel. That's an advanced feature there. And on the right side, you got all of your cruise and ADAS safety stuff on the right. So pretty ergonomical, really good functionality. You do have paddle shifters. We'll talk about that more in the drive. And then as I look straight ahead, you actually do get analog gauges in the RDX. So they haven't upgraded to the full like 12.3-inch digital instrument cluster that you might now find in the TLX and the MDX. So there is still a digital gauge in the center that's customizable and you can cycle through. But let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Is that a must for you now? Does everybody have to have the digital instrument cluster, or there's still some fans of these kind of mechanical analog style gauges? So beyond that, looking straight back, with this being the advanced package, you also get a 10.5-inch full color head-up display. So it's a huge display, gives you lots of information, including your navigation, routing, things like that. So that's very nice. Off in the center here, they have a 10.2-inch color screen here, but it's not touch. So RDX also still uses Acura's true touchpad interface. So that's down here. It is a trackpad. They call it one-to-one positioning. So essentially where you put your finger will kind of show up exactly where that position is on the screen. Obviously, there's some people that don't like this system, but for those that get used to it, it can be intuitive, especially while you're driving. Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Would you like to see a touch screen in this RDX? Should they upgrade the size? Things like that. Let us know your thoughts. As you make your way down here, though, the nice thing is that there's a lot of physical controls for important things like your volume, your track functions, all of the HVAC controls, and some of the seating controls here as well. So these seats in here are really, really premium. On the advanced trim, this A-Spec Advance, they're actually 16-way power seat for both the driver and the passenger. So there's a lot of adjustability that you got there. Also, there's 3-stage ventilated and 3-stage heated seats for both seats as well. And there's an auto function, which is tied to the overall auto climate control system. So that can be a lifesaver, especially if it's hot outside. As soon as you get in the car, it'll turn on the ventilated seats for you. So that's a really nice function. You have an idle stop off button here. And then you get this large dynamic mode. So again, we'll talk about how that works in the drive, but essentially this lets you cycle through the different modes. You have your gear selector here, kind of typical push button fashion. And then as you make your way down, there's a lot of premium touch points in here. So there's leather everywhere. There's high contrast stitching. It's red on this particular trim. I mean, even over here on the dash, there's this ultra suede material. Feels really good. And it's got that, contrast stitching. Outside of that, though, you do get real aluminum quite a bit in the interior. You get some here on the dash, but you also get it down here on the center console, which can slide open. There's 2 cup holders, a little space down here as well. You got the center armrest with a little cubby down there. And the nice thing about that is that can actually slide forward too. So really gives you a good position as well. Down below this kind of floating console, though, there's a big opening area here. There is a 12-volt power outlet as well as a USB charging port on that side, and that's a USB-C now in 2024. There's also the big wireless charging pad that works really well even with my iPhone. As I look at the door linings, really good materials there. That aluminum trim carries over here, the ultra suede material with the contrast stitching. And then again, there's several different interior colors for this. So this is actually the red. interior, and on the outside, we're actually working with a platinum white pearl. So it's a really good combo. That white on red, kind of traditional Honda Acura looks really good here. Off to the left, you got all kinds of other buttons and functions. You got things like the parking sensors, the controls for the head-up display, your windshield wiper heater function, and even traction control and safety, and even the brake hold function and your electronic parking brake are all here on the left. So lots of functionality off to the side there. But the last thing I'll talk about is this premium audio system. So it's been around for a minute, and Acura has now switched over on their newer models to Bang & Olufsen. But even in this system here, it's an ELS Studio 3D premium audio system with 16 speakers. And even to this day, it sounds really, really good. And actually, one more thing. Last thing I'll say is all the RDXs, even the entry trim, comes with a full opening and closing panoramic moonroof. So I think that's a really, really nice function as well. So again, I think we covered everything up front. So next, let's go ahead and hop in the second row to talk about the space there. All right, guys, here we are in the second row of the RDX A-Spec Advance. There's a lot of good materials back here. You get really premium leather seating surfaces, just like you do up front. I've got lots of legroom here. This is actually my seat pushed back a little bit from my actual driver position, but despite that, I still have really good knee room. You know, I'm 5'10". I definitely have good headroom, you know, even with this panoramic moonroof. So lots of space back here. You could definitely sit 3 across, so it's a true family vehicle. No problem fitting 5 people in here. You see, I do have a child booster seat back here. Shows you how much space your kids might have. Of course, if you've had a rear-facing child seat, that'll fit no problem as well. And also, it's very easy to access the latches. So, nice point there. In the center, though, there is an armrest that folds down. It's comfy. It's got 2 cup holders here. Of course, you got the headrest in the middle that raises up. But back here, you do get some vents for the HVAC. However, you don't get the ability to control it. So it's not a tri-zone climate system, but at least you have the vents back here. With it being this top trim, there's also some other premium features down here as well. You get 2 USB-C charging ports, as well as 3-stage heated seats for these outboard seats. And there's buttons down here to control each individually, so that's a nice feature as well. Of course, you got 2 mat pockets back here. And again, on the doors, you know, you get the same kind of premium materials that you get up front. You still get that aluminum, you know, speaker grill for the ELS Studio sound system, the ultra suede material with the contrast stitching, and even this kind of red premium leather here on the doors. So overall, it's a pretty good place to be back here as well. And with that, next, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space. All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about the cargo space of the RDX A-Spec Advance. Now, there's obviously a few different ways to open up the tailgate. It is a power tailgate, of course. Like I said, there's a few ways you can do it. One would be to grab the handle here under the Acura caliper. Of course, there's a button inside the car. There's a button on the key fob remote as well, so that's pretty obvious. But with this being the advanced package, it does have one of those hands-free access systems where you kick under the tailgate to open it up. So I'm going to give it a try. Let's see if it works here. Sometimes it's a little finicky, but no, it works on the first try and opens right up. So once you're inside here, you got 29.5 cubic feet of space. So a lot of space in here, and that actually doesn't include some of this underfloor storage they have here, which is really nice. So you actually flip this open once and it reveals a pretty cavernous space back here. You could easily store a couple backpacks, you know, laptops, boots, anything like that, and you could close it and kind of hide it away. So that's a really nice feature. There's even this extra little cubby space back here. And the other trick is if you lift it up one more time, there's actually another underfloor cargo space there, and even the place where you store like the equipment for your jack and things like that. So, so really good underfloor storage space back here as well. You also get this huge subwoofer back here for that ELS Studio 3D sound system. You do get latches back here as well to fold the seats down. They are a 60/40 folding style seat. And when you fold those down, that capacity jumps just to under 80 cubic feet of space. We'll put the numbers down below. That's a really cavernous space, all things considered. So very good space back here. So next, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the powertrain of the RDX A-Spec Advance. Now, this comes with only one engine option. It's Acura's 2-liter, 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. It makes 272 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. It's mated exclusively to Acura's 10-speed automatic transmission, and like I said before, now it only comes with super handling all-wheel drive, which is Acura speak for torque vectoring all-wheel drive. So we'll talk about how that works in the drive review next, but there's no better way to prove that out than to go ahead and get behind the wheel. So next, let's take this thing for a drive.
All right, guys, here we are inside the RDX A-Spec Advance, and we're gonna go ahead and take this thing for a drive. So first, grab my seat belt, put that in, put on the brake, engine start stop. Starts right up. You get the analog gauges kind of spin a bit. You get a little bit of the graphics there in the small digital instrument cluster you got there. But other than that, we'll go ahead and take this thing for a drive. Pushing D to set off. Now, there are a few drive modes, so as always, we'll kind of go through each of them, talk about what changes, what doesn't change. So first, let's go ahead. Let's talk about them. There's 4 drive modes. So there's snow, comfort, normal, and sport. So we're gonna start in comfort mode. Technically the normal is like the default, but we're gonna start in normal mode really quickly here and set off. So with comfort mode, this car has the adaptive suspension, right? The adaptive dampers. The normal A-Spec trim doesn't get that feature, but with it being the advanced package, it means it gets it. So what that'll do is it'll soften the suspension a little bit. That together with kind of like the lighter steering, the less aggressive torque vectoring setup, the throttle response is dialed back. So this really is just kind of a chill, everyday drive mode. Also, you got idle stop that turns on and off. I'm actually going to turn that off by the button here on the dash, and we'll set off here. But like I said, comfort is a pretty good driving mode. You can always kind of do a mix and match of things. So for example, if you wanted the softer suspension, but you still wanted a little bit more aggressive throttle, you could put the transmission into like the sport transmission setting. But unlike some of the other Acura models, there is no individual mode in RDX, so you can't truly piecemeal it. But you can kind of go halfway there with going into the more aggressive transmission setting. So I'm setting off in comfort mode, and admittedly I'm going up a pretty big incline here, but it's relatively quiet. I think you get a little bit of the engine sound, but it sounds good. But the overall NVH is actually really good. The advanced level trims always had additional sound deadening material, acoustic, windshield and front glass and things like that to just kind of help keep out some of those unwanted sounds. So I'd actually say the NVH is really good, and it's a noticeable difference between the regular A-Spec and the A-Spec Advance. But as we're driving here, again, I'm in comfort, so now I'll twist the dial. You get some animations here in the 10.2-inch center display, and now I'm in normal. And instantly what I notice is the suspension firmed up. Again, that's the adaptive dampers. And also the steering got a little bit firmer, and even the throttle response got just that much sharper. It's somewhat noticeable. I mean, you can, one of the things is a lot of times when you're, driving through the different drive modes, when you're trying the different drive modes, it's hard to understand, really what mode you're in. But in RDX, it's a pretty clear distinction. So, again, comfort is very soft. Normal is firm, but not overly harsh. But you can, like I said, there's a definite difference in all of the settings. So we won't try snow. It's not snowing here, but you can imagine that obviously dials things back even further, changes the logic for the torque vectoring distribution and things like that. So it's not really something I'm going to try out here today, but we'll come up here and we'll actually try sport mode next. So switch that over. And yeah, immediately what I can feel is a difference in the suspension. They got even firmer. I don't know if you can hear that. Engine, the active sound control is kind of turned up a bit, so you definitely get a lot more intake and induction noises. And it's also a little bit more keen to like hold the gear. So I'm on a steep hill going down now, and it's actually kind of holding the gears for me, and which is nice. It's almost like doing engine braking automatically. Of course, if I push that D and S button, now I'm in S mode, and essentially what that does is that gives you full control of the paddle shifters here. But what you'll find is that in most cases it'll hold the gear for you, but if you're really getting into it or trying to like come up to a strong red line, it'll automatically upshift for you. So I know there's some people that don't like that. They like to be banging off the rev limiter, doing that kind of things, but obviously Acura's doing that to kind of, you know, long-term durability, reliability, to protect the transmission and the drivetrain. So I don't mind it so much, but again, just a quick, you know, pull of the paddle shifters, and now it says SM3, indicating that I'm in third gear, but it's holding it there. It's not like dropping off. It's not even auto upshifting, and so it's literally just staying in gear for me. So coming up to a bit of traffic here, so I'm going to come to a stop, and we can talk about just overall driving feel before we give it a nice launch here. So one of the things that it did do is coming to a complete stop, it put it into SM1. So it automatically brought me down to first gear, and now it's going to actually let me launch in first gear. A lot of times what will happen, especially with these newer 10-speed transmissions, is the car will actually, you know, essentially start in second gear and take off. It doesn't always need to start in first. So the fact that it lets you manually do that means you're going to get the best launch. And so let's try to do that here. So SM1, and here we go, full throttle. Went up to about 6,500 RPM, so not to the full 7,000 red line, but I mean, it got up pretty quick. You know, this car is not slow. 272 horsepower, and more importantly, than 280 foot-pounds of torque is available from a very low RPM. Again, thanks that, you know, that's thanks to the you know, downsizing turbo, the smaller engine. It spools up really quick, and the power is definitely there. So really good driving dynamics there. And I think that's the other thing that makes RDX kind of like stand out in this segment, is just overall driving dynamics. It really stands out. I mean, the fact that the car has, you know, the powerful engine, the 10-speed transmission, but I think even more importantly is that super handling all-wheel drive. It's a torque vectoring system, right? It gives you really the ability to distribute the torque, and it does it all on its own. You don't actually have to do anything. The computers and ECUs, everybody's talking to each other. So given the driving situation, it's going to handle all the torque vectoring on its own. It can dispense actually 70% of the power directly from the front to the rear wheels only, and then from there it can take 100% of that power and put it to either outboard wheel to give you maximum traction and driving dynamics. So it sounds very gimmicky and there's a lot going on there, but the proof is in the pudding. So when you drive this thing, you actually feel the difference. It's definitely one of the more sporty driving SUVs in this segment. And it's interesting too, because like a lot of times, you know, when you have the wheel cranked, you know, your first instinct isn't to go more on the throttle, but with the RDX and that torque vectoring system, it actually begs you to do that. And when you actually go like wide open throttle with the wheel crank, you'll actually get some oversteer. The car will actually rotate out, and it never gets scary. You know, we've talked about this in some of the other you know, vehicles that have the same system, but it actually feels really fun. And like I said, it always catches itself. You never feel like, oh my god, I'm losing control, but it's just enough to, like, you know, add a lot of excitement to what could just be another, you know, mundane mid-size SUV. So in fact, we have a little bit of a turn here, so I'm gonna actually, you know, come to a reasonable speed, but kind of turn and then, like, you know, power out so I can get that rotation. And so just a hard turn. I mean, there's it. And then as I got into it there, I mean, it just kind of pushed the back end around, and you just wouldn't expect like a mid-size SUV to behave like this. So again, you know, let us know down in the comments below, is RDX on your shopping list? Are you looking at some of the other competitors in its class? Again, there's a real good balance. You can find everything from pure luxury and comfort to something much more dynamic and sporty like this. So with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up this drive video.
All right, guys, that's a wrap. What did you think of the 2024 Acura RDX A-Spec Advance? Does it have all the features, technology, and premium touch points that you'd expect from an Acura midsize SUV? Let us know your guys' thoughts and comments down below. Let us know if you want to see other trims and other premium midsize SUVs on the channel. We're happy to bring it to you. So if you've joined us before, thank you so much. But if you're new to the channel, please be sure to click that bell to subscribe to come back for more. Thanks, and we'll see you at the next episode.